Two media titans now duking it out over President Obama, with Rush Limbaugh calling out Oprah Winfrey after she claimed the disrespect the president faces stems from racism.
If there is a level of disrespect simply because he's black, then how, Oprah, have you managed to become the, at one time, most popular and certainly wealthiest television personality? How does that happen?
So here's what Oprah had said. Yes, I think that there's a level of disrespect for the office that occurs, and that occurs in some cases, and maybe even many cases, because he's African American. Chris Plante, a radio talk show host and host of The Chris Plante Show. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host. All right, who's right in this battle, Leslie, or are they both wrong?
I happen to take Oprah's side on this, and not just because she's a woman, Gretchen. First of all, I am obviously not African American, but I do think that it's ignorant and naive for any American to feel that none of the anger directed toward the president or disrespect is based on his skin color. When we look in '09 about Congressman Joe Wilson's yelling out "liar," in the past when we've had presidents on both the left and the right, Bill Clinton, a Democrat, and Richard Nixon, a Republican, both impeached for lying and criminal activity, subornation of perjury on the witness stand for Bill Clinton. We never had any disrespect for those people from either side to this level.
First of all, isn't it always the easy cop-out? And Chris, I do have to say that Joe Wilson, I mean, may have been onto something. The president, he lied about Obamacare, didn't he?
Well, and specifically what Joe Wilson was objecting to was the claim that the president made in the State of the Union speech that it wouldn't cover people in the country illegally. We found out just a couple of weeks ago that quite specifically the website won't be used for immigration enforcement. Joe Wilson was right. He apparently read the bill. That's really a peripheral issue, quite honestly, I think, when it comes to Obamacare and the myriad lies contained therein. But when it comes to Oprah playing the race card here, and look, I've always kind of liked Oprah. There's a lot to like about Oprah, I think. She's an extraordinary American success story,
right?
And she should recognize that. The President of the United States is black, and he's the President of the United States. Now, Oprah, I think, they've become so accustomed to playing the race card in matters having to do with Obama that it's become the first refuge of the liberal scoundrel to just cry racism at every turn. And if I'm not mistaken, Oprah Winfrey was not a supporter of President George W. Bush, but she wasn't called a racist for it.
But Leslie, let me ask you this. So if anyone questions President Obama, then are they a racist?
Absolutely not, in my opinion, and I don't feel that most of us on the left are saying that, and I don't feel Oprah Winfrey was saying that. I mean, Gretchen, you read her quote. The question was asked, do you feel that the president faces racism? As an African-American woman, she said that she does. She feels that there's a level of disrespect, and I would say that Joe Wilson, not what he said, even liar, the fact that he would yell out to the commander-in-chief, having no respect for not just the man, but for the office, and I do think that we cannot ignore the fact that that's never been yelled out by anyone until we had an African-American president. So I do agree with what Oprah said. I don't feel that the president's being called a liar with regard to health care based on his skin color.
We never had universal health care
some of the disrespect
so
has a
there
racist
could have
base.
been a reason why he called out. We never had universal health care before that time either. Meantime, President Obama pointing a finger now at Republicans on Obamacare last night. I don't know if you had a chance to hear this or not. Conference call with supporters that was plagued with glitches, ironically, kind of like the healthcare.gov site. Listen to this.
There are a lot of vested interests, and obviously we haven't been getting a lot of cooperation from the other party. So I've run my last political campaign, but I've got one more campaign in me, and that's making sure that this law works.
So the president then went on to blame Republicans for blocking his judicial nominations. He also made an epic blunder on the health care numbers, saying 100 million people had signed up when he meant 100,000. Chris, I know that you're going to have a heyday with that number blunder, but that aside, is the president trying to distract now by blaming Republicans for Obamacare?
Well, certainly. I mean, you can understand his, and it was just a blunder on the number. He's become so accustomed to talking in terms of trillions and billions that it's impossible to think of just 100,000 and the number of people that have signed up for Obamacare. Look, President Obama, when it comes to blaming everybody else for his problems, that's the story of his presidency. Quite honestly, he believes in one-party rule, and any opposition is called racist. It's Joe Wilson, please. I mean, the victim president. It's a tough world out there. Washington is a tough town. He's the president of the United States. Grow up, put on your big kid pants, and start acting like an adult, and recognize that we have a two-party system, and that the opposition is the opposition.
Is
the
it time,
Democrats
Leslie, now, is it time to blame the Republicans in the middle of this Obamacare, what many classify as a big, huge mess?
Oh, I don't feel that the president, I don't connect the dots on that. I don't think the president is blaming Republicans for Obamacare. Certainly, I think that he knows that he is being held to blame by both sides and that he will be held to blame, which is why I think what he said in Forceful is quite true, that this is his goal and it needs to be, because this will be part of his legacy.
Yep.
With regard to the judicial nomination, I think it's very common for presidents left or right to speak about any kind of obstruction or obstacle, whether it's a nomination or a piece of legislation that they have put forth, that they feel is in the best interest of the country.
And he was speaking to his supporters organizing for America.
Yeah,
Chris
absolutely.
and Leslie, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, Gretchen.
Thank you.